don't we?
Yep, he is. So we're at 19. I think that's good. All right, are we recording then?
I am recording.
All right. So last week we were going to have Jax, Robin's son. He was going to start us off with the pledge. He's excited to do it, and we're excited to have him here. And if he wants to come every single week, I would be fine with that. So with that, I will turn it over to Jack. Oh, look at Renee.
It's not a very good resolution. I'll get a better one next week, but
I will turn it over to Robin to introduce her son, and we'll let him get going with his Pledge of Allegiance to get us kicked off.
All right, this is Jax. He's 7. He's been joining us every week except for the first week. So
awesome.
Go ahead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Amen.
Good job.
Nice job. Thank you,
Well
Good
Jack.
job,
done.
buddy. This is how we should be starting out every week.
Well done.
Look,
I
look,
think
I don't
so.
even know if you can see him. I
Virtual high five.
honestly have goosebumps. No lie. That's
Virtual
good
high
work.
five.
Virtual high five.
Good work, buddy.
Awesome. Great job.
Yeah. All right. With that, I can't top that. So I guess
Yep.
that'll do it. Renee, go ahead. You can shut down the meeting, and I'll see you guys.
That was the highlight.
That was the highlight. Let's not lie. That was the
Yeah,
highlight.
that was awesome.
We all know it.
Thanks, guys. He's been super excited.
No, I wish you would have done it last week, but we got in late.
Yeah.
So, all right, let me see here. I don't know what just happened. I lost my speaker view.
Oh.
There we go. I got it. All right. So I think we ended right with we only got through clause 1 of section 8, which talked about taxation. And we talked a lot about it. I hope we don't have to talk more about it, but does anybody have anything, any notes, anything anybody wants to talk about with taxation?
It's theft.
What's up?
It's theft.
Okay, it is. It is. And every gun law is unconstitutional. Anything else?
Fact check true.
What?
All right, then we'll move on. Let's get into clause 2.
Hold on.
One thing I do want to note is that David did post some definitions that might help us this week in the chat. So if you bring that up, you'll be able to see those. So we can refer to those quickly when we need to.
David, are those new or are those the same ones from the same list you sent me initially?
It's a couple new ones from section 8
All
that
right.
might be relevant to section 8.
Well, listen, since it's going to be hard for me to go back and forth to chat, so when we hit something you think's important, just interrupt. Just get
Right,
in.
I will.
Right on. All right. So I got a lot of case law this week, old case law, but it seemed like everybody kind of liked when we got into how they were thinking when the Constitution was written, instead of just reading it and how we interpret it today. So I've got a little more case law. If it gets too boring, let me know and I'll start cutting out the case law. I don't think it will. I mean, I think it's all right, but it'll be a little more reading on my part than just the discussion. Not a lot, just a little bit. Like I said, after tonight, if you think it's too much, just let me know and we'll cut that out. All right, so moving on here. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 2. We give Congress the authority to borrow money on the credit of the United States. There was a whole lot of back and forth with this when the Constitution was written. One of the biggest problems even today is that there's no constitutional limits on how much money that that Congress is allowed to borrow, which is why we're in the mess we're in. Instead of worrying about paying off what do we do every single time? We raise the debt ceiling. Which go ahead and you try to do this. You try to live your lives like this, right? Go ahead and raise debt in your households, and then just tell your wife or your husband, hey, look, you know what? I'm just going to raise the debt ceiling on this. We're fine, no problem. I'm going to take it up another $10,000. We'll be okay, and see how that works. Well, it's working the same way for us right now. And
raise my credit line.
What's that?
Raise my credit line.
Yeah, exactly. And there's going to come a point where even you won't be able to pay that off. right? So you got to declare bankruptcy, or, you know, your kids are on the hook for it. And that's what's happening with us now. I mean, we're never going to pay this off. Our kids are never going to pay it off. Our grandkids probably aren't going to pay this off, especially at the rate we're going. Before I get too far into it, has anybody got anything you want to say? All right, so let me read you something here from President Washington's farewell address in 1796, which appears to have captured the sentiment of the times here pretty well. And here's what he says. He says, as a very important source of strength and security, cherish public credit. One method of preserving it is to use it as sparingly as possible, avoiding occasions of expense by cultivating peace. But remember also that timely disbursements to prepare for danger frequently prevent much greater disbursements to repel it. Avoiding likewise the accumulation of debt not only by shunning occasions of expense, but by vigorous exertions in time of peace to discharge the debts which unavoidable wars may have occasioned, not ungenerously throwing upon posterity the burden to which ourselves ought to bear. So what he's saying there basically is, look, we know that there's going to be times, war especially, right, where we're going to incur debt. What he's saying is in times of peace, we got to be doing everything we can to pay that down, right? Those of you, I mean, unfortunately, Dave Ramsey wasn't alive back in the time of well, not even Washington, but in the times, especially of the New Deal, where we started just raising crazy debt. We're good at creating debt, but obviously Congress is not good at paying that debt down. It's just getting higher and higher. And what Washington is saying is, look, this is not our posterity's problem, right? This isn't our kids' problem. If we incur the debt, we should pay that debt off. Let our kids incur their own debt and pay their debt off, and our grandkids pay their own debt off. But we don't do that. We're probably what, great grandkids into paying this thing off, I would guess. So I thought that was pretty good. Questions?
I think since we were the only ones to land on the moon, we should just sell the naming rights and pay off our debt.
I'll bring that up.
Okay. It's a unique idea.
It is. We could sell moon rocks. I mean, we own them, right? I mean, we landed on the moon. Anybody, Dave, anything to add there?
I would just say that going back to looking at the people that wrote the Constitution, most of them were businessmen, many were farmers, and they had a really solid understanding of buying and selling and of how business worked and how credit could be used to help the farmer and the businessman. And if you think about it, there was a definite limit to how much credit anybody could be offered or extended back in that day. But most of those people would never have personally dreamed of overextending their credit. Now, there were a few of the framers that were in and out of financial trouble, but you know, that's the vagaries of farming. Sometimes things happen to a farm and they, you know, that's no fault of their own, but they were able to extricate themselves from it. So I think that their concept of that clause to borrow money on the credit of the United States, I think the lack of anything else in that indicates that they understood how that operated. And I bet they had no idea what kind of debt or what kind of credit could be extended today.
Oh,
I think they were a little more righteous back then. They didn't try to take advantage of the system like they do
you know
now.
what else we had back then that we don't have now? We had debtors' prisons, right? If you incurred too much debt and you couldn't pay it back, you would go to jail for that. You couldn't just run up debt that you weren't ever going to pay back. Now, they do, and we'll get into that when we get into the coinage clause. You know, they gave the federal government power over bankruptcies. But the fact is, like you guys all said, I mean, back then, you were not supposed to be running up debt you couldn't pay, right? You could extend your credit based on your good name, but you had to pay it back. And like Jeff said, they were more honorable. They weren't.
They're just curious. What is collateral on the debt we have?
Currently?
Uh-huh.
I don't
I
know.
think citizens are.
I mean, obviously, we're not going to sell off part of, we're not going to give up part of our country.
Right. What,
Um,
they gonna come take the Statue of Liberty? Or, I mean,
Ha!
well, France gave
That would
to-
depend
but-
on the way the lines of credit were written or the agreements that were signed. You know, like when you sign a mortgage, it's understood that the collateral is your house, you know,
Right.
that you're, so I would think it would, I don't know, back in the day, like Jim said, you couldn't pay your debts, they'd confiscate your property and sell all your stuff and you go to debtor's prison. But I think back then, you know, had George Washington asked for $32 trillion line of credit, nobody would have offered it. You know, they wouldn't have offered credit beyond what people could pay. I think now they offer credit without any worry of collateral or any
Right.
understanding of what's going to happen if that doesn't get paid. Look at the housing boom and bust. Look what happened there. They
Well, and you
offered
know, I mean,
everybody that could sign a mortgage document got a mortgage, and how'd that go?
so the country is, it's just like you. The country has a credit rating, and once we stop paying back our debt, our credit rating is going to go through the basement. And when that happens, then what are we going to do? Because
Well, not too long ago, we just lost
we did,
rating. I mean, it was what, 3 years ago?
yeah,
4
we did.
years ago, maybe?
So what do you do at that point? You got no credit. Your money's worthless at that point. Doesn't matter how much you print. It's not backed by anything. So
Who do the bill collectors call? That's what I want to know.
right.
yeah, well, you know what? I don't know the answer to that. I mean, they gotta be calling, right? And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. What happens if the United States just says, you know what, we don't have the money to pay it. We're done. Well, we're not paying this bill.
Right.
What, the United States files bankruptcy, I guess? What? But that's where we're going to get. You're going to find out, unfortunately, you're going to find out what the answer to that is if we keep going like we're going. Maybe not in our lifetime, but your kids will, for sure.
Some of the stuff that boggles my mind, and I love Rand Paul does this every year. About this time, it'll probably come out here soon, where he just lists all the wasteful spending. And like he'll go through and be like, so we're borrowing $1 billion from China, let's just say. And then we're also giving them aid of like $2 billion for this, that, and the other thing. And it's like, stop.
Right. No, it's unbelievable. It is unbelievable. When you look
Using a
at,
credit card to pay off debt for something that's already yours. It's like,
and I don't understand why
Then you
we're still
accrue
giving all
interest.
this money to these other countries when we have incurred such great debt. Maybe we just stop giving money. Let those other countries worry about their own finances while we get ours back in order, right? Instead of us sending money to China, us sending money, nation building and sending it over there, over to the Middle East and giving it. I mean, if you look at who we give money to, it is unbelievable how many countries that are well off that we're still giving money to. I mean, bring all that, and I don't understand the legalities of it. I don't know if it's something as easy as Congress just saying, look, we're done. You know what? The well's dry. Nobody gets any more money until we get our stuff paid off. And then we take all that money and pay it off. Obviously, that's never going to happen because it's a chess game. We'd piss off the entire world. But it is. It's insane. Jeff, do you have something?
No,
Oh, I thought you were going to say
No.
something. All right.
I was thinking about it, but I thought better of it.
Are you drinking? Is that why you thought better of it? All right. So, one of the worrisome things to me with this too is because there's no constitution limits imposed on the borrowing power, that the branches are the ones that get to decide, right? Congress gets to decide. And really, in 1917, Congress granted the Department of Treasury standing borrowing authority. But for many years and probably still, they're the ones that are still incurring all this debt. They're the ones that are still borrowing all this money. And as far as I know, that's never been rescinded. I mean, the Department of Treasury still has standing as borrowing authority. But like everything else, Congress is just dirty, man. Which is why I'm announcing that David Davis has agreed to run for Congress in my stead. So David, thank you. Renee, you can start with him.
Help?
Well, thank you, David. The announcement's been made. There's really nothing we can do at this point. So thank you.
Okay.
But so I think I might need some clarification. So the government obviously does not make money. All the money that it gets, it's borrowing from the treasury, right?
Okay.
I'm asking, right? They're
Well,
borrowing that money from the treasury.
It generates revenue, which it gets and is held by the treasury, but is
Well-
dispersible by the Congress or
And
by
we will-
different agencies.
And we will get to the coinage clause where Congress is allowed to set the value of the money. They're allowed to make the money, to coin the money. So I don't know if it's so much like the Treasury is a private, entity that we're borrowing money from. And I know I've seen the links that you sent me, but they do have the authority to coin money, and to set the value of that money. So I don't know if it's entirely correct that they don't make money, that they don't print the money.
Well, I know that we pay interest essentially. I don't want to say to ourselves, but we pay interest on the money we borrow that's not to foreign governments or foreign entities. So we have to be paying that interest to somebody.
Yeah, but are we? I mean,
Where does that interest? I mean, who
are we
is
actually? Are we
applying?
actually borrowing money though from the Treasury? See, I don't think we are. I don't think it, in the truest sense of the word borrow. I don't think we're borrowing money. I mean, we're certainly making our own money. We're printing our own money. We're putting our money into the markets, but I don't think we're borrowing it from ourselves.
Agree.
I'm wrong.
I think, right. I don't think we have a situation where the Treasury has the money and the government is able to borrow that with an interest payment back on that. I don't believe that's how it functions.
So it sounds like we need
Anybody else?
to do some research on how that piece works, and maybe we can post that on our resource page so we can move on, because I think that nobody knows. So
That's why Renee's here. That's why we love Renee. Renee brings us back in line. She has us
Right.
straight and
He's
narrow.
centered.
Yeah.
Centered.
That's why. Yeah, I knew we had her around here for a reason.
haha.
All right, fair enough. Yeah, I mean, Jeff, I'll look into that, or we'll look into that and figure it out for sure. But that's how I feel about it. Anybody else? Anything on Article 1, Section 8, Clause 2? Okay. Well, then we will move on to the Commerce with Foreign Nations Clause, which is Section 8, Clause 3, to regulate commerce with foreign nations and among the several states and with Indian tribes. So Congress has full authority to regulate commerce with foreign nations. Is this going to be a definition? You got regulate in there, David?
Let me look.
I should bring that up.
If you don't, I'm going to be.
I can have it in 2 seconds if I don't.
It's pretty easy. And I had it. All right, either way, while you're looking it up. So James Madison was big on the national government having power over foreign commerce. All right. The Articles of Confederation gave the states the power. So the states could set that they could deal with foreign entities as far as commerce went. But the problem with that, obviously, is that Great Britain was able to then, at that point, use its power over the United States because they were taking each state on individually instead of the collective nation to be able to exert its authority over Great Britain, which is why we ended up giving Congress sole power. Now, there were delegates, mostly from the South, that wanted regulation of foreign commerce to be effective only through the supermajority vote in Congress. but Madison was able to successfully argue that it would cripple the government if it was necessary to retaliate against discriminatory tariffs from foreign countries. David, anything yet?
I've got regulate here. This is kind of interesting. 1755, definition 1, to adjust by rule or method. Definition 2, to direct. That's it. Adjust by rule or method. And I will point out, although I will not belabor the point, that this clause contains something that was of astronomical importance at the time to regulate commerce among the several states. That was a gigantic failing of the Articles of Confederation, that the different states had all different kinds of taxation, and it made trade between the states almost impossible. So one of the major reasons why the convention was formed was solved by this very innocuous sounding little phrase here that was of immense importance when it was written.
All right, so 1828, the definitions changed a little bit. All right, so David's definition is still there, but the big one here that I think they went to is to put in good order as to regulate the disordered state of a nation or its finances. The subject of rules or restrictions. You know, the problem and what the argument was is that the United States dealing with foreign commerce was not disorganized. They were doing just fine. Obviously, the concerns were that you start giving the government all the power over commerce, and the government's going to do what government does, which government has done. And we're going to get into a little bit of case law here in a minute. Actually, we can get into that now. So moving on from foreign governments, we've got the Congress shall have power to regulate the commerce among the several states. Do I need to go back? Does anybody else have anything as far as foreign governments go? Jeff, anything? Who else? I got 21 people in here. Who's not talking?
I'm not talking right now.
Got a bunch of lurkers in here, just taking it all in. Got the same guys.
That's okay.
Well, it is okay, but you know
We're
what though? I don't want 5 people to dictate what we think the Constitution means. You know what I mean? I'd
There was a
love you
little
guys.
bit of a chat about the dollar in the
There's
chat
Steve.
section.
What was that?
There was a little
I'm
bit of
guilty.
a back and forth in the chat section about the US dollar.
If you're talking, you're not listening.
What? I still couldn't hear him. I think he was too far back from his mic for me. Did you guys, Renee? Did you hear him?
I had a hard time.
What he said was that there was some talk about the dollar in the chat section.
Oh,
Did I miss it? Sorry. Hang on. I was looking up some other.
It's about what the dollar was backed by and when.
Yep. That would be it.
so what is it? Where? Because I'm not reading it, Dave.
Okay, it's dollar backed by gold and US dollar backed by fiat currency now. FDR took the US dollar off the gold standard.
Well, and that is true. I mean, what is our money worth right now, other than what we say it's worth, right? I mean, we're setting the value for our money, but it's just paper money, and that's where. Well, we'll get into that when we get into the coinage clause.
I was just mentioning because he was asking about it being backed by gold, and I looked it up, and it's called fiat currency now. Fiat currency is basically just government issued paper,
Right.
and it just allows them to control it more. So it's
That's
almost
not backed by anything.
no, it's almost
By
useless.
the trust of your government.
Correct. Which is nothing, right? I mean, how much trust do we have? How much trust does the world have in us, really? I mean, clearly a little bit because they're still loaning us money, but
Yeah, I had a long conversation with my brother-in-law last weekend about this kind of stuff, and he was talking about the gold-backed currency and how it's backed by nothing. And not to get off on a tangent, but he was talking about like that was my concern about like Bitcoin and stuff. Like there's nothing there. There's nothing tangible. He's like, either is your dollar. There's nothing there to back that. So what's the difference between the value of the two things? And like my mind was blown.
When the power goes out, I can still hold a dollar bill.
What if it's worthless?
You can burn it.
It's
Hey, what-
it's a slippery slope discussion, because at one point the United States had enough money, enough gold, that if everybody took their dollar and went to the government and said, I want my gold, they could get it. But you quickly realize that limits the amount of money in circulation for any nation to what the government holds in capital sitting in a vault somewhere. And so as you expand what government is spending, their argument was that, do we need to have gold bullion sitting here? Doesn't that limit the amount of money that can be in circulation at any one given time? So it's a slippery slope
Well,
conversation.
but the problem with that, is what happens right now if China takes all their money, all their US currency that they're currently holding, they flood the market with it.
Yep.
What
Right.
happened?
Yes. Yep.
All of our money is worthless.
A
China-
dollar penny now.
Right.
China
Right.
owns us.
In-
China
in-
owns us.
In
If
many
they were to-
ways, the same things that gain you benefits also come with a heavy price.
Right. I mean, and there's nothing stopping China from doing that, from flooding the markets right now with US dollars. And if that were to ever happen, all that money you have in the bank is worthless, absolutely worthless.
Now, if they'd like to do that, they can send it all to me, care of, and I would be happy to funnel it.
Okay, I don't know what just happened here, but apparently David is not running for Congress anymore. He's now an agent of China offering to launder money. Is that what you said? I wasn't sure.
Apparently, as
Depending on
long
how
as
much
he-
money there is,
Oh, boy.
Apparently, as long as he registers as a foreign agent, he's okay.
Yeah, that's the problem. All right.
But I think
Um,
there have been several Mideast countries that have changed their, what's it called, the standard that the IMF, International Monetary Fund, they got off of the dollar as the standard or the global currency, and they went to, I think, the
I believe
euro.
that is right. And that was just in the last few years.
yeah.
And that shows that there is a waning trust in the government's ability to back that dollar, because they're switching off of it. They're saying this is not going to be worth anything. We're going to go to a different standard because we have more confidence in that.
Right, and if the valuation is constantly fluctuating, that could be very bad for international markets.
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe the IMF, right, are they the ones that dropped our credit rating?
I think so.
I think it was.
I'd
I
have to
think it
look
was
that
the
up, but I
IMF.
believe so.
I think it was. Yeah, the IMF is certainly not on Team USA anymore, for sure. So when we're talking about regulate commerce among the several states, so Clarence Thomas had embraced the limited definition of commerce as trade, right? His quote is, "At the time of the original Constitution was ratified, commerce consisted of selling, buying, and bartering. That was it, as well as transporting for these purposes." He noted that the etymology of the word commerce meant with merchandise. United States versus Lopez, 1995. Yeah, bless you. I don't know who that was.
Thank you.
Okay. I think we all have COVID now. Everybody's going to have to quarantine
It
for
started
14
with me.
days.
I
They're going
spread
to have
it.
to stay home.
Quarantine.
So Gibbons versus Ogden, Chief Justice Marshall declared that commerce is more than traffic. That is more than mere trade. It is commercial intercourse, which includes both trade and the manner which trade is carried on. Thus, he held that the government, under the definition of commerce, as he affirmed, had the right to prescribe rules of navigation for trade. And this is how the government starts getting bigger, right? Clearly, back when they made this Constitution, they were talking, and I agree with Justice Thomas, that they were talking only of selling, buying, and bartering, as well as transporting for these purposes. That was it. That was commerce. But now, because of these Supreme Court rulings, now they can control navigation for trade. what's this one here? Let me just read it. I'm not sure why I highlighted it yet. United States versus EC Knight Company, 1895. Supreme Court declared that Sherman Antitrust Act could not constitutionally be interpreted to apply to monopolies in manufacturing for commerce. Did not reach manufacturing. Manufacture is transformation. Okay. So that's why I did that. So what they're saying here is that manufacturing is transformation, right? This is not commerce. What they're doing by manufacturing is the fashioning of raw materials into a change of form for use. The buying and selling and the transportation incidental thereto constitute commerce. Any effect manufacturing has on commerce was merely indirect. It could not be reached under the commerce power, but that's not true anymore. And I got a lot more case law that I can go through. Of all of the clauses in Section 8, the Commerce Clause is by far 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 pages in Heritage with nothing but case law and trying to explain it. Dave, you got anything on commerce within the states?
No, not beyond what I started out with, their intent and what the problem was that they were trying to rectify. But I find that case law fascinating because therein lies the secret to the creep in power.
Right.
In deciding what is commerce and what can be controlled because of the term commerce.
When you start changing the definition of the words that were used in the Constitution.
Right, and that's how they attacked it. They began to include things under commerce that the writers had no intention of having in there whatsoever. Right. Again, they were solving a real problem with that the Articles of Confederation had, and it solved it. And after that, it was applied, stretched, misused.
Are there any amendments that affect this one that we can talk about it more later, or was this just kind of as it was and then they were just interpreted?
I don't think so. I don't think there's any amendments that affect Congress's authorization to control commerce.
All right, so really it's all been kind of whatever has been interpreted by the Supreme Court.
Legislated from the bench.
Legislated from the bench, exactly.
Correct.
Okay.
I think. Yeah. I mean, I don't think there's going to be an amendment that is going to even touch commerce.
Yeah. Okay.
Yet. Maybe we'll see. All right. So in the final part of this, Commerce Clause grants Congress power to regulate commerce between the United States and 3 sovereign entities, right? Anybody know what those entities are? I mean, we've already talked about them. I guess this is reading comprehension 101. It gives us 3 sovereign entities that the government, or that Congress can regulate commerce.
Yeah, it's the Indian nation.
Correct.
State to state and foreign countries.
Right. Correct. So the Indian tribes, right? And you think, oh, well, I mean, back then that was a big deal. There's not a whole lot of Indians around anymore, but that's not necessarily true. Indians still maintain a lot of land, and the states have no authority over those, over commerce with them. That is still 100% in Congress's realm, where they're the only ones allowed to enter into treaties with these Indian nations. They're the ones that can give land to these Indian nations. I don't even believe, I mean, if they decide that they want to give, oh man, I should know this. Who is the tribe here? Who are the Indians here? I mean, I know Erie.
Erie's.
So we'll say Erie. If they want to give Erie, if they want to, well, see, I don't know how that would work though, right? Do they have the right to come now and say, hey, look, Wakeman, you're now going to be an Indian reservation?
Sure, they could.
I think they could.
They can take land from them though, whenever they want.
Can take land from who?
The Indians, don't they? I mean, like these tribes, when they put the people on reservations.
No, those Indian tribes are sovereign. I mean, once they are given their land, I don't believe that we can just come and take it from them. And maybe I'm wrong.
Yep, you have to pay them for it.
Right, right. I mean, they're a sovereign entity. I don't think we can, but you know what? We've never had to give them land, in recent times. I mean, how would that work? Can they give them incorporated land? Could they just come to North Ridgeville and be like, hey, congratulations, here's your Indian casino?
Yosemite is theirs.
Is that?
No,
that
I'm
right?
saying that they could
Oh.
give federal land.
Oh, well, that's
Don't
what I
confuse
mean.
him,
I mean, I
Alicia.
know they
He
can
already
give federal. I know they can give
Alicia, you're
federal land.
confusing him.
Well, no, that could very well be. I know they can give them federal land still to this day. And there's a whole lot of federal land out west. But if they wanted to give them land out here in Ohio, does anybody know? Can they do that?
Yeah, so I think that falls under eminent domain. And it says here that federal law, Congress can take private property directly by passing an act transferring title of the subject property directly to the government. So they would say, hey, North Ridgeville, federal law has been passed. You are now belong to us. And then they would just transfer it.
I wonder what the Bundy family would have to say about that.
So does that then apply to the Indian reservations and land like that then? They can just come in and vote on it and say, we want your land now?
No, so that I don't think so, because that, again, that's sovereign. That's not
The
property.
states are sovereign.
But we could just do what we've done in the past and come in and take it by force.
Man, a bunch of questions here that I didn't even think about until I started saying it out loud. I don't think, man. The states are sovereign. The Indian land is sovereign. I don't think it's that easy, man. I don't. I think it's.
And I think the reservations were created by federal law as well. So you'd have to get around that too.
Yeah, that wouldn't shock me.
Well, I know when I lived in Arizona, we had Indian reservations around us, and there was times where people would tell you don't drive through the Indian reservations because they have their own rules. Like they have their own Mexican police force.
They have their own Indian reservations have their own police departments.
Yeah, it was kind of like I used to do it. I would just obey the rules, kind of like driving in Mexico. But it's kind of scary because they do their own thing.
Yeah, for real. I know that they have their own courts. They have their own tribunals out there. Yeah, I mean they're a sovereign entity. I mean they have it, like I said, they have their own. So I don't know if it's as easy as just eminent domain, coming and taking land from the United States or taking land from them.
Well, and it was kind of crazy too. Just my perspective of the Indian reservations is you would drive through and there would be some houses that were like huge, beautiful, like mansion looking houses. And then most of them were just shacks. So it was like, you could tell who were the leaders kind of thing. I don't know. I don't know about the Indian reservation thing. I just telling you my perspective as far as what I saw.
As far as the Constitution goes, because I know Renee's chomping at the bit here, Congress has sole power in dealing with the states, commerce, foreign entities, and the Indians. So
I have a real quick question.
Renee, I'm sorry. I tried. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, it's all right. So the Indians are a sovereign nation as well. What about the Amish? What would they? Can they be eminent domain?
They're not in the Constitution.
Yeah, I don't think they're protected at all. I mean, they're a religious sect. Yeah, I don't see why they couldn't. I don't think
they
eminent
don't
domain
enjoy the same status as the Indian tribes.
Right.
Because the Indians were here first.
Let's all be honest though. We should all probably go and live as the Amish, right? We'd probably be a whole lot better off. We should actually elect an Amish president, and we'll just see where that goes, because we can't do worse. So, I mean, nobody has electricity anymore. No more cars. I mean, whatever. No more social media. Is it all bad, really?
And they don't wear masks in Amish country. So, hey.
Are they falling over though? I mean, are we dropping
Bonus.
Amish?
I think our Second Amendment would be protected too.
Yeah. Sure. All right, moving on here. So let's get to Article 1, Section 8, Clause 4, which is giving Congress the authority to establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the United States. which is kind of weird. Why, I don't understand why those two are together, but whatever. So first, to establish the naturalization clause here, to establish a uniform rule of naturalization. Now, this is going to be a thing, right? You know, you look at even the Declaration of Independence. One of their concerns, one of their what's the word I'm looking for, David? Grievances. One of their grievances that they brought up to the king was his obstructing the laws for the naturalization of foreigners. So it was a big deal to them then. Unfortunately, the Articles of Confederation had it kind of screwed up, like it did with most things. Under the Articles of Confederation, which is one of the things we had to fix here, was that each state still retained authority over naturalization of aliens, which resulted obviously in a widely varying state practices, which James Madison in Federalist 42 called a fault and defect of the Confederation. And obviously you can understand why, right? When you have states that are allowing different people in under different different laws, different what's the word I'm looking for? Come on, Dave, help me out here.
Yeah, let me just read the definition of naturalization, because that's kind of an unusual word. The 1755 definition of naturalization is the act of investing aliens with the privileges of native subjects.
Read it again.
The act of investing aliens with the privileges of native subjects.
Native is kind of a weird word.
It is.
Because at that point, were any of us native except for Indians who we already slaughtered?
Right.
And kicked
Well,
out
I
of their
think the
house.
implication there is that subjects native to one nation enjoy uniform privileges, and that there is some, or required to be some, acceptance or some official nature of investing those privileges on people who immigrate, and that should be uniform throughout the United States. Like you
Right.
said, under the Articles of Confederation, yeah, I'm a citizen of Pennsylvania. Well, that's fantastic, because that's completely different than Maine. You know,
Well, and that was the problem, is that Pennsylvania under the Articles could bring in foreigners under their standards, which may not match with Maine's standards.
right,
But
right. And
once
so
you're in, you're in, right?
Right.
So that was the problem. Now, Congress passed the first uniform rule of naturalization in March of 1790. It allowed for any alien being a free white person and of good character who had resided in the United States for 2 years to become a citizen of the United States by taking an oath in court to support the Constitution of the United States. Obviously, we've changed that a little bit. Any white person. However, there are still the key criteria for citizenship of the Naturalization Act of 1795 remain part of American law. These include, so in those 5 years, it changed a little bit. These include, still today, 5 years of lawful residence within the United States, good moral character attached to the principles of the Constitution of the United States, and well disposed to the good order and happiness of the United States. 3, the taking of a formal oath to support the Constitution and to renounce any foreign allegiance. And 4, the renunciation of any hereditary titles. So prince, king, lord, any of that need to be renounced. Current law, which is much more detailed than the first naturalization, requires competency in the English language, excludes those who advocate world communism or the violent overthrow of the government of the United States. Also, current law prohibits discrimination in naturalization on basis of race, sex, marital status. So, current law prohibits those who advocate world communism or violent overthrow of the government of the United States. But right now, we're bringing in people that refuse to renounce their citizenship for other countries, right? They're trying to bring in their policies from their countries. They're trying to bring that in here instead of supporting ours. You want to get into constitutional issues, man. This is the one.
So it's
Well, I'll open it up. I mean, what do you guys think?
it's interesting to me that it's a uniform rule of naturalization, meaning that is it okay to discriminate between countries of people coming in? Can we say, oh, you're Canadian, we'll take you, but oh, you're Muslim, we won't?
Well, I think that's going to fall under, I mean, the president does have the authority to, obviously, which he did, right? For national security purposes, he's got that authority. I don't think he can just blanket. I mean, he's not going to be able to just blanket say, look, if you're from Afghanistan, you're never allowed in. We're not going to discriminate. What's that?
Muslim is religion. Is that not? That's in one of the exceptions there. Can't be discriminated against by.
Right.
Correct. But when we have when we have terror attacks, when we have things that are going on, the president certainly has the right to shut down immigration from those countries. He absolutely has the right to protect the country.
And he did not too long ago. And
Yep.
it was by country, not by religion or race,
Right.
geographical region.
But according to this, is it the president that has that right or Congress?
The president, well, and we'll get into that with Article 2. The president does absolutely have the right.
Okay, it's later.
Yeah, no, that's an Article 2. When we get into executive, when we get done with that, when we get done with Article 1. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, immigration's such a mess right now. And you see how it was originally designed, and obviously you can't stand behind that, right? Any alien being a free white person. I mean, and we've grown as a country.
Just cross out the word white.
Well, all right. I guess if you did, right? And being good characters, residing in the United States for 2 years to become a citizen of the United States, taking an oath in court, and to support the Constitution of the United States. I don't have any problem with any of that, right? But we can't even get that done. So let's take out white, right? Because obviously that's wrong, and we've grown. We know that's wrong, and we've changed it. But let's just take that out. But being good character, who has resided in the United States for 2 years, become a citizen of the United States, taking an oath to support the Constitution of the United States. We can't even get people to do that, and yet we're letting them in. And
Congress people to do that.
Well, true. You know, my bigger problems, and I understand the thought behind DACA, but we're giving people all the rights and privileges of being a citizen in the United States without becoming a citizen.
There's no assimilation.
There's none. There is none.
They want to bring their country here.
You know, you look at different sections, different parts of the United States where, you know, you've got the Somalis that are 90% of that community who are living like they did in Somalia. You've got in Dearborn, I mean, you've got large sections of Muslim populations that aren't, they're not adhering to the Constitution of the United States. They're not renouncing their citizenship, you know, from wherever.
I think that's the key, is they have to renounce their citizenship from where they came from. I mean, if you look at how when we were founded and as you moved on through history, you had your small pockets of the Irish that lived together, and you know, people from Ukraine kind of came together, Italians kind of grouped together because they're comfortable with the people that spoke the same language as them. And so I get that, but the piece that I don't care if they want to do their own thing and do their, you know, and honor their cultures from where they came from, because that kind of makes them who they are, and we should accept that and embrace that. But the fact that if they don't want to give up their citizenship to the other country, and they are not pledging allegiance to the United States, then that's where I have a problem. I mean,
Now, I don't want to bring up any one group. All right. This is not hate towards any one group. This is the one thing that comes to my mind. So I'm going to bring it up, but there's other groups that do the same thing. But when you've got groups, whole cities that are advocating for Sharia law, which is in direct, flies in the face of the United States Constitution. I have a problem with that. That is not who we are.
That's not honoring our Constitution. It's not.
Correct.
So
It-
that is a problem. They shouldn't be, citizens then if they're not.
But yet we're going ahead and allowing them to their citizenship. Those that are here illegally are enjoying all of the rights and
Without any consequences.
correct.
Right, but that is because we have allowed that. I mean, as a
Because
country,
Congress
whoever our
has
leaders
allowed
were,
But you're right.
we have 100% allowed it. As somebody who lived out of this country for the 5 years, I was in Mexico for 5 years. You have absolutely no rights. They don't care. That you have no rights. You can be there on a work visa, you can be there on a tourist visa, but you do not have rights. You do not get to vote. You do not get any help from the government. You absolutely have no rights. And the only way that you can earn those rights, you have to live there for 5 years, work there for 5 years. You have to have so much built up in Mexican finance. And then at that point, you are able to
Ding,
apply.
hold on. Don't even go any further. Ding, right? Before they'll even let you, and a lot of countries are like this, before they'll even let you become a member of that country, you have to have money. You have to be able to support yourself. You're not going to live off the public dole.
Nope.
I have a job.
No, because you don't get any assistance. And then even if you decide to become a Mexican citizen, you can do that after 5 years. You give up your citizenship to the United States, you become a Mexican citizen, and even at that point, because you're not a natural born citizen, you do not have the right to vote. The other thing is that because you are not a Mexican citizen, you do not have the right to own property. And the way around that is you build a trust. But you basically are in a 99-year lease. Like you never technically own that property.
So at the end of those
So
99 years, your kids are living there and they could just be like, no, we're taking
they
it
could
back.
be like, oh, sorry, we're taking it back. And that's the thing. Here, you walk in and we're like, wait, hey, have a free, welfare. Oh, by the way, you need some assistance. Let me give it to you. Here's $10,000 to start up your business.
Right.
Our government has allowed it. And everyone thinks what we are doing is horrible by not allowing the help or by trying to minimize the help. The thing is if you've lived out of country and you've seen the way that these other governments are, if you've ever been to other countries and seen, cross a border that you're not supposed to.
When we
cross our border, we're like, hey, what's up?
Even in the early 1900s, immigration was, we had people coming into this country that wanted to make this country great. We brought them in here. We were bringing doctors in. We were bringing engineers in. We were bringing people that were building bridges and building the most amazing buildings you've ever seen, right?
It was the American dream.
It was the American dream. We were allowing those people in, and those people wanted to come make this country great. The people that are coming here now, they want our money. Not all of them.
No.
A lot of them are coming here because everything is free. Healthcare is free.
Right.
We're giving
The American
them
dream. The American dream has shifted. It's not about building up your name and being proud of something or escaping religious persecution like it was in the 40s and 50s when a lot of the immigrants came over, and even before that. Now it's about coming here and getting everything handed to you for free. Free healthcare.
And votes.
Robin is spot on.
Vote, right.
We have allowed this to happen.
If I
Right.
may, right? Like,
So I have a question though, going back to
Renee's raising her hand.
where you said the naturalization or the becoming a citizen where you have to give up your citizenship to other countries. Aren't we allowing people that have dual citizenships with other countries?
We do
Like, aren't there
allow
people that have
There are
like
members of Congress that
citizenships
have
with,
dual citizenship.
Yes. Yes.
so like, when did all this change though? If that's part of what it is, it's saying, well, you can still keep your citizenship in Canada, but we'll let you have citizenship here then too, or other countries.
I think
Well, in those instances, their rights don't supersede
Poor Brad.
those of the United States.
Everybody.
You can have
Brad
dual
has something to
citizenship in
say.
Mexico.
Robin, or just talk over me.
And
I'm sorry.
the immigration line into
you're
Mexico
not Brad.
is shorter than the U.S.
Well, here's what I've been seeing. It's this. I think we've lost what American exceptionalism is.
Well, that's a bad word now.
Yeah, if the people, they think of this as like we're better than everybody else. But that's not what it means. The term American exceptionalism is that is the idea that the United States is unique among nations of the world, and that it was founded on the principles of individual liberty, private property rights, and equal justice for all. And I think one of the things that have happened a lot is we've, especially in the last 30 years, 50 years, something like that, we've kind of gotten rid of the equal justice for all, and we've replaced it with the social justice stuff, with the emotional side, and gotten rid of the fairness across the board in substitution for these emotional issues.
Renee.
Okay, Renee, it's your turn.
I'm kind of going along with what Brad said a little bit. And I think that exceptionalism that we started out with, I think that people that have all these ideals that we are so much better than everybody else that we should be helping people and we should be offering a handout because that's what good people do. So I can see, I'm playing devil's advocate a little bit because I don't agree with a lot of free support and so forth. But when somebody first comes here, they may not have, enough to get by to start out with. So maybe, if we could look at it as some of my more liberal friends are like, oh, give them everything, they need it. But it's got to get cut off somewhere. And they still have to make themselves a citizen here and nowhere else. They have to work and earn their way. They have to be part of making America great, of building us up again. They
No politics.
coming in, and I know I'm trying not to, but they can't coming in and milking us, that because that's what I think a lot of our divide is about is trying to see where more, the liberals may be saying, hey, we're better than this. We shouldn't be treating them like garbage. They're trying to escape their countries where they're persecuted and I get that and help them out. But I think we need to come back to standing with what our
I guess what we're gonna, we're gonna have to open up with this again next week with immigration, because what we're talking about are things that we feel.
Yeah.
We feel like they should have to do this. We feel like we should do this for them. We feel like, but what does the law say now, right?
Right.
What does the Constitution say now? And I guess that's probably where we need to go back to and say, look, it doesn't matter. I've got a shirt that was given to me by Robin about this is the Bill of Rights, not the Bill of Feelings.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we got to get back to, right? It doesn't matter how we feel, and I don't think it matters what you think we should give people when they come in. I don't think it matters, and not you. I mean, I mean you collectively. I don't think it matters what you feel we should give them when they come here. I don't think it matters what you feel, what kind of help we should give them, what kind of healthcare we should give them. What does the Constitution say as far as immigration?
Right. And
I think one of the reasons that we're not seeing it getting fixed is it's become politically weaponized.
Sure,
You have one side who's allowing it.
Look at his last election.
Yeah,
Yep.
I mean,
100%.
to them, it's become a weapon to garner votes. One side, you're racist if you want to make them work for it, and the other side saying, just let them have all the stuff, and then that gets them votes. And that's the problem. They politically weaponized it.
Sure they have.
Sure
Sure
they
they have.
Be a
Well,
contributing
logically,
society.
you get free stuff from the American taxpayer, whether it be welfare, a place to live, food, whatever, right? You should be a citizen to receive U.S. taxpayer assistance in the
Well,
United
not even. And I would disagree with you there, is that nobody should be receiving federal funds for welfare. Nobody at all, period, in the story.
And I'm with you on that. And the only way you get that is if you're a citizen. And you have to be 5 years here. So what'd you do in the 5 previous years that you didn't need the assistance? Okay, you got here.
Well, but the problem is now that even before those 5 years, when you're still not even a citizen, you're getting the assistance.
I know that's what I mean.
Right.
It's crazy.
And that's it. I think that's what I was trying to get to was, if these local governments want to support the people that are coming in, and my grandparents, want to come over, let us support them for those 5 years.
Correct. Because I'll tell you right now that the Constitution does not provide for welfare at all for anybody.
Right.
Nobody, show me in here where it does.
No, it doesn't. And
No.
that's why I think it should be up to the local communities or the families to support that person and help them to get out
Don't bring
here.
them over
And
here.
then
If
go
you can't
back-
afford to bring them over here, you don't bring them over here.
And then go back to the Constitution and say, this is how you get here. And I think we need to try to use that as a not an excuse or something to fight with those other people about, but this is what our Constitution says, and we can help them,
Correct.
not from the federal government.
And that's one of my biggest things with welfare that my biggest problems with it. If Ohio wants to give Ohio's people their money, okay. You know what? And if I don't agree with it, I can move to Kentucky where they don't do that, or I can move to wherever. But to blanket to take my money and to redistribute it to people that are not even citizens here without my say in it, and not the say of the Constitution, is absolutely wrong. And it's these freaking thieves in Congress right now that are taking my money and doling it out to people that don't deserve to have my money. That is the problem. And like I said, listen, we'll start back on immigration next week. Go through your constitutions, read them all, and you come back to me and you show me where social welfare is in there, and I will take back everything I said.
Page 1.
Yeah. It can't be handwritten, I can tell you that.
It's not.
Yeah, well, I'm just telling you, don't be coming to me with some bullshit 30-second amendment where you wrote it in yourself.
I think a lot of it too is we got away from sponsorship. I mean, I have friends that have come over here and had nothing, literally had nothing. But in order to be able to come into the States, I mean, this is many, many years ago, they had to be sponsored.
Right.
And that sponsor would then take them on, help them get a job, and then get established to the point of them being able to either become the citizen, go through the, test, the whole 9 yards. And there was a lot that went along with that. I mean, I have two very, very good friends that did that. My issue is that, again, going down to where I lived. Okay. So for, I'll give you guys an example where we talk about what we should or shouldn't give people that are coming into this, to the country. I mean, I understand persecution. It's a little different. If you're trying to escape that, it's a little bit different. And I do understand that there's circumstances that are different. You're going to have circumstances of persecution, but you're going to have circumstances of people just wanting to come here to try and, give themselves better lives, or just because they want to be able to be financially successful. However, again, when you move, if you want to go down to Mexico, good luck, because here's the thing, you get nothing, you get no help. I mean, we were there for, I think, maybe 2.5 years, and they had one of,
you get no help, right? But would the communities help you? Would the churches help?
No, but like, here's the thing. Yeah, you know what? They're too busy helping all the Mexicans. They had right before I moved.
Hold on, that doesn't even make sense to me. So they're
I'm gonna tell you.
taking care of their own people?
No.
First?
Let me tell you. No. So right before I moved there in 2014, September 2014, they had the worst hurricane that they've ever had. A Category 4 hurricane destroyed Cabo. They built it back up. I moved actually the end of October, so I moved in the middle of all of it. 2 years later, they had, in 7 hours, they had more rain than they had had in 3 years. And it's just not built. There's no drainage. I mean, it was horrible. And if you go back into my Facebook, you can see the devastation. I mean, people lost lives. The government there allows the citizens to build for free in the arroyos, which are riverbeds, for those who don't know. And what they did is they would build out of, it's called the barrios. They would build out of whatever they could find, tin, pallets. These places had dirt. There was no running water. I mean, you've never seen anything like it.
Robin, I
So
love you. I'm putting you on the clock. You got 3 minutes and I got to go.
I don't even need that. I don't even need that. I'm making a point. I don't even need that. So anyways, fast forward, this storm happens. The president shows up, he looks at all of the devastation, and he says, oh, well, these people didn't pay their taxes, their property taxes, so we're not going to open the emergency fund. And there's 40% Americans and Canadians, and they said, what do you mean you're not going to open? These people have nothing. They've lost everything. They don't even have homes. And he said, yeah, they didn't pay taxes to live in riverbeds, by the way. And the American and Canadian communities are the only reason that those people survived. Not the Mexican government, our communities. So that right there, they don't even take care of their own citizens. They could give a crap about the Americans. or the Canadians. Trust me. So what we do here is just insanity
It
to
is,
me
it
when
is,
you've
it
seen
is
it.
absolute insanity. You show me another country that doesn't have some kind of border wall, right? That is not allowed to protect its own borders from people just walking across the border. Show me another country. But yet here we're supposed to just open it up to anybody who wants to come walking across. Hey, whatever, come on in.
Anybody-
Water's great.
Anybody who's against the border can take their fence out of their backyard.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not.
Leave
I'm
their
not,
door
taking-
unlocked.
I'm not taking my
I
fence
have
out.
to say, so
Well, you better
about
say it in
sponsorship,
30 seconds.
there's mixed messages about the sponsorship thing going on. My boss is an Indian doctor, and he has in the last couple years, not since COVID, unfortunately, his parents didn't come out this summer, but I've actually physically written a letter for him that says he's going to support his parents, he's going to provide for them, he's going to provide their health care, he's going to do everything for them while they're here. So he's sponsoring them. So there's kind of mixed messages, like it's okay for some people and not for others. I don't know. It's just confusing to me because I know he's done it to get his parents over here on a short-term visa, just a visit visa.
I think you can for that purpose, though. I think that you can do the sponsors
Thank you,
to
Robin. All right,
get the
listen,
visas.
we are way over, way over. Now listen, here's what we're gonna do though, is we will go back. Renee, are you gonna open up a different room this time?
Yes, I will. I will.
Instead of
We
going
start
back to
talking
the-
about bourbon now.
What's that?
We can start talking about bourbon now.
Yeah. Well, no, I have a feeling we're gonna talk about immigration. And we've gotten a little off the Constitution, but I'm gonna start back with this next week, with immigration, more on a constitutional side. We're not gonna worry about your feelings anymore. This is what the government's allowed to do, just by the Constitution. I'm not gonna get into all the federal law and the changes, and that's where it gets hard. But by Constitution, we will go over that line by line. All right?
Yes,
Renee?
David did say, this is all good stuff. This is the substance behind legislation and law. So,
Yep.
I mean, this is a big heated piece here. And
It is.
obviously something that you need to get a good grip on, get a good handle on, so.
Yep, no, for sure. I will have all my case law for you guys. I mean, all that I can. I'm not going to have thousands and thousands and thousands of court cases, but yeah, you know what? I allowed this to get into more feelings instead of more substance of the Constitution. So we will pick it up here next week and it will be substantive to the Constitution. And then you are going to go ahead and you're going to get the after room.
Yes, and I'll post
All
it
right.
on our
So
Constitution.
she's going to post that link on the group page.
Yeah.
Just go there. You can click on that link and we'll come right back here to Zoom.
Yep.
And we can continue this because this is a thing.
Yep.
All right.
I'm gonna
I'm out.
stop the
Bye.
recording now and see you all in a bit.
All right.
Bye.